So, good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is now going to bring us to the end of the Global Citizenship Education Conference. To close, we have a number of speakers who are going to provide us with their thoughts and feelings and how they thought that the last 2 days has gone. Now, first of all, we have a video from Mark Tattersall, the Chargé d'Affaires for the Australian Embassy. Mark's kindly recorded the video for us, so we'll play that in a moment. But just as an introduction, Mark is the Senior Career Officer with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. He was most recently Assistant Secretary, Aid Management and Performance. He was lead author of Australia's 2020 Development Policy, Partnerships for Recovery, and from 2018 to 2019, coordinated Australia's humanitarian response efforts in Indo-Pacific. Mark holds a master's degree in International Social Development from the University of New South Wales and Arts and Commerce degrees with first-class honours in History from the University of Sydney.
Thank you and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Tattersall, Chargé d'Affaires at the Australian Embassy here in Hanoi. I'm very sorry and I'm unable to join you in person today. It's nonetheless my pleasure to be here virtually for the closing ceremony of this important conference, Exploring the Boundaries of Global Citizenship, organised by Swinburne, Vietnam. I'd like to thank Swinburne for the invitation and for their work in organising the conference. I'd also like to acknowledge all the contributors and participants, experts, leaders and practitioners, educators, youth, policymakers and professionals in the education sector. I'm delighted to see from the program the diversity of Vietnamese, Australian and international organisations represented at the conference. This shows the high levels of interest in the topic of global citizenship education, and I'm particularly happy to see so many representatives of Australian and Vietnamese universities. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between Australia and Vietnam has never been stronger. We are strategic partners who share a common outlook on the region, complementary economies and deep people-to-people links. We celebrate 50 years of bilateral relations in 2023 and are in discussions about further elevating our partnership to mark that milestone. In that context, it's striking to note how significant educational linkages have been in the partnership between Australia and Vietnam. Australia offered its first scholarship to a Vietnamese student to study in Australia in 1974. That's only 1 year after we emerged from conflict and first recognised each other as nations. From that humble beginning, we now have built an alumni network of over 70,000 Vietnamese students who have studied in Australia. Vietnam is our fourth largest source of international students. I meet human examples of this network all the time. Australian alumni exist at all levels of Vietnamese government and society. Invariably, they are positively disposed to Australia. Invariably, the experience of studying overseas, of opening their eyes to new ideas, new experiences, new cultures and perspectives has played a seminal role in their personal and professional development. Indeed, in the very way in which they understand and interact with the world around us. And of course, the exchange is not just one way. Amongst the many varied learnings of COVID in Australia has been the incredible richness and vibrancy that international students bring to Australian campuses, cities and towns. They were sorely missed at all levels of society throughout the pandemic, and that's why they've been so warmly welcomed on return. And then there are the linkages between educational institutions in Australia and Vietnam. Relationships, research and academic partnerships that grow in depth and sophistication every day. Australian universities are amongst the largest and most ambitious Australian investors in Vietnam. These linkages contribute substantially to the growing depth of the economic and commercial relationship between our countries, as well as seeding the ideas and relationships that foster growth in other sectors. I say this because I believe that this story of the role of education in the Australia-Vietnam relationship is highly relevant to what you have been discussing over the course of this conference. That's because it shows the power of education, and particularly globally minded education, to enrich lives, to spur ideas, innovation and growth, and to foster understanding, cooperation, partnership, stability and indeed peace amongst nations. Now, more than ever, it is important that societies, and especially the educational institutions that shape those societies, recognise the importance of global citizenship and in doing so, invest in developing individuals who will face challenging issues with a mindset that is fundamentally open to new ideas and approaches, because only then will we be able to face the complex challenges of the future: climate change, environmental degradation, geostrategic competition, inequality, technological disruption, artificial intelligence, automation amongst them. All of these will fundamentally require global cooperation if they are to be overcome. I trust your discussions over the past 2 days have assisted to inspire and enhance your understanding of the potential of global citizenship education. I hope also that these discussions have assisted you to reflect on the practical implications for policy, curricula, teaching and learning. And of course, I hope that through these discussions you've established relationships and connections that will allow you to continue to explore and promote the ideas you've encountered through your participation here. I hope you bring back with you valuable new perspectives and are now able to put these to work in your institutions and your communities. Thank you once again for your participation. I wish you all the best and all good health and success.
Thank you very much, Mark. Now, we have a second video from Rebecca Hall. Rebecca is Victoria's Commissioner to Southeast Asia at the Victorian Government Trade and Investment. She commenced this role in September 2020 and represents Victoria's trade and investment interests across Southeast Asia. She manages the Victorian Government Trade and Investment offices located in Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore and Ho Chi Minh City. Rebecca holds a bachelor's degree in International Business Relations, a Master's of International Relations, and a graduate certificate in higher education. Is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, member of the Singapore Institute of Directors, and has served on a number of boards and not-for-profits over the past 15 years. In 2021, Rebecca was appointed as the first Global Ambassador for the Climate Action Network for International Education.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm sorry I can't be there in Ho Chi Minh City, but I'm delighted to record this message on the eve of the conference and share some of my reflections on global citizenship and global engagement in higher education. My name is Rebecca Hall and I'm the Victorian Government Commissioner to Southeast Asia. I'm coming to you today from our office in Singapore, but in the region we also have teams in Vietnam, right there in Ho Chi Minh City, in Malaysia and in Singapore. And our job is to engage on behalf of the Victorian Government and our businesses, including our education institutions, in partnering globally. As a state, education is one of our most significant employers, and our relationships with universities are drivers of cultural, economic, and social value in our state. And this has only been reaffirmed and reconfirmed during and post-COVID. Educating professionally skilled, ethically thinking, and cultural competent graduates is a shared goal of government, universities, and employers. However, what is not so clear is how we achieve this. And of course, the answer is there is no one solution. We know there's a combination of the cultural context, the education environment, and personal aspiration of our learners. When I first started my career in international education back in 1995, it was a choice for our universities and education providers to be internationally engaged. I would posit that for universities now, global engagement is clearly not a choice. It's a requirement and it's a foundation to ongoing success and impact. Let me just share 3 ideas and areas that I think will be absolutely critical to the future of international engagement and education in Southeast Asia. The first is continued growth in transnational, online and alternative education programs of learning that are aligned to the needs of the local learner. And when I say local, I actually mean global, because we know that all learners, no matter what the aspiration is, are operating in a changing, dynamic global environment. We're very proud to see a number of Victorian universities highly active in these delivery modes, with campuses, programs and partnerships that way exceed many other states and indeed countries in their engagement. And this is very prevalent in Southeast Asia, particularly in Vietnam, here in Singapore, Malaysia, and growing in Indonesia. So I think the second area that will be critical is around alignment between industry and our higher education institutions to address critical skill shortages and preempt skills needs. And I know that's quite a high level statement and one that is a constant challenge, but I think the key opportunity in a post-COVID context is to revisit our global approaches to talent attraction and development, and to really aspire to have freer and fairer migration settings that reward and attract the best talent to the right area at the right time. The final area, and perhaps you would expect me to say this as someone who works in a government role, but it has never been more important for government leadership in this space. I'm proud to work for a government that's invested heavily in education, making commitments all the way from early learning to postgraduate studies. Our work in the region is less on the policy side, but having good, strong policy settings domestically enables us to partner more freely and openly with other educational institutions, with governments, and with industry partners globally. We're proud during COVID to have been able to innovate in this space, creating study hubs in Ho Chi Minh City, in Kuala Lumpur, and in Shanghai. And these hubs are helping us form new ways of engaging with learners, new and alternate ways to connect through education technology, and to continue to build our network of partners. These hubs are an asset not just for government, but for our educational institutions. And I would love to welcome any of you in the audience who are in Ho Chi Minh City or have some time to stop by and visit our study hub. As I was preparing for this conference, I actually went back and had a look at one of the last symposiums that I was involved in around the topic of global citizenship. And that was actually way back in 2014. It was the Global Citizenship Symposium, delivered in partnership by Study Melbourne, the Victorian Government, the Australian Government, and the International Education Association of Australia. There are a range of papers and discussion starters that were produced as part of that symposium. I'd like to play for you now the highlights reel from that symposium. And as you're watching, please think about what's changed. Are we further ahead or further behind? Are there new players, actors, and drivers in this space? And what could all of this mean for your work and our shared future of international education and global citizenship?
There is no escaping that we live in a highly globalized world. Some people talk about the world which is highly compressed. Others talk about the world in which geography is dead.
For today's generation, their world is devoid of postcodes. They no longer connect or necessarily identify just with their local community. They are global citizens for whom political, economic, and social borders are no longer barriers.
Global engagement is clearly not a choice anymore, it's a need, it's a requirement, and young people are very differently able to orient themselves towards the global depending on their resources.
The reason for having the event, I think, really is to put under the blowtorch some of the rhetoric and look at some of the practices around these issues.
Educating professionally skilled, ethically thinking and culturally competent graduates is a shared goal of government, universities and employer groups. However, What is not so clear is how we actually achieve this.
And clearly it's been very difficult to translate some of these rather abstract notions around global citizenship, cosmopolitanism and so on into effective, deliverable curricula.
Global citizenship is a term just like student experience. It's a term that is always defined by government agencies, defined by universities, but never by the student. And you'll find that the main issue about that is that students don't actually take ownership of what they are being exposed to.
It actually starts at home. How do we behave every day? Are we good citizens before we try to be good global citizens?
To date, I don't think students are necessarily challenged or taken out of their comfort zone in learning routinely. Global citizenship is often seen as an extracurricular activity and is not engaged or it's not integrated into learning.
One of the points in the papers is really about how do we embed some of this stuff in our curriculum, in our universities, in our culture. And I'm really wondering, do we need to really kick this along? One of the interesting things, I'm not just saying this from a social experiment point of view, is to not embed it, but to make it available and then see what sort of demand we can really drive.
My question is about the shift that we're seeing towards online learning now. How do we get this global citizenship and global competencies embedded when the students do not necessarily ever have to come onto campus?
If global citizenship is an elite preoccupation without deep grounding in popular society, we can expect to see a recurrence of resistance to it.
As global competition becomes more intense, global citizenship takes on a more prominent role in differentiating the very good from the very best.
Clearly young people are deeply aware of big global issues like environmental degradation. They're very concerned about war, about poverty, and they feel the responsibility on them to be world savers or world changers. And this has sometimes been described as selfie humanitarianism. So what we get is not a kind of joining up with political collectivist activities or efforts to create some kind of global civil society, but trying to really create change in ways that also perhaps build your CV.
We need to understand soft skills and hard skills and how we bring them together in that global citizen to ensure that we can drive the change that we are looking for.
With a worldwide surplus of graduates competing for employment, academics results alone will not suffice. Employers are no longer restricting their focus to local, but to global. So employers will not only expect, they will demand something extra. That's something which makes students stand alone as globally networked, global ambassadors who are also global citizens.
Thank you very much for your video, Rebecca. Now, our next speaker with closing remarks is Ms. Bui T. Zien. Ms. Bui is a researcher at Vietnam's National Institute of Educational Sciences. Her work focuses on educational policies, curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment, emphasizing the fields of transferable skills and inclusive education. She's been a key researcher of various national and international projects related to education for sustainable development, such as research on improving systems on education. The Vietnam Global Citizenship Project, collaborative action research on the role of schools in achieving SDGs in Asia. Vietnam education sector analysis and plan funded by Global Partnerships for Education. Open Digital Library for Vietnamese children funded by UNICEF, and impact on gender and inclusive pedagogies on student participation and learning achievements.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me today. And thank you all for very interesting and engaging presentation that give me many ideas of promoting global citizen education that I can take away from this conference. And on the behalf of Vietnam National Institute of Educational Science under Ministry of Educational Education and Training, I would like to give some some ideas about the global citizenship in Vietnam. So it is obviously that global citizenship education is very important, and it helps learners become responsible and active global citizen. And actually, Vietnam, we have a great effort to develop like a students' competency, and we will promote global citizenship education in Vietnam, because we have promulgated many decisions to facilitate this aspect of education. So, for example, like in 2018, we have created a new national curriculum that we focus. We moving from content-based learning curriculum to competency-based curriculum. And by the way, we can have students have like many active educational environment. And in new curriculum, we also created a new subject called like experience activity, like have students have more opportunities to experience in many aspects of life. So what our aim is live what we learn and learn what we live. And most recently, Vietnam Ministry of Education Training have conducted a national project on Vietnamese like called Global Citizenship Education in Vietnam. And in this project, we did a survey asking thousands of teachers and students, and also school leaders about the global citizenship. We also propose a framework of global citizenship education in Vietnam. So we pointed out a lot of indicators that we adapt from international framework to more suitable with Vietnamese context. And we hope by this way, this one can help promote this and more effective in Vietnamese context. And in this educational global citizenship framework, we use a holistic and approach, like whole school approach. We hope that we can bring global citizenship education to each school in Vietnam, such as we propose about create a school environment that are safe and interact and inclusive school in Vietnam. And also we guide a school to redesigning a school curriculum, and so school plan. We also like have them understand about the three main pillars of teaching and learning, such as curriculum and pedagogy and also assessment. So we don't make the global citizenship is a separated subject, but integrated in our curriculum. So we have did some pilots in school about integrating in each lesson that can develop global citizenship competencies for students. So it was very successful, and this framework was approved by Ministry of Education and Training. And we beside the achievement of Vietnam education, we also have like face a lot of challenges relating to this one, such as assessment, because sometimes we understand that assessment in Vietnam still like content based, so it's very hard to change teachers' perspective to change a way of teaching. So sometimes they just focus on the score of students more than their skills. So with many efforts from ministry, we try to send many dispatch, also conduct a lot of project to help students and to help teachers and school change their mind. And also like we also have like promulgated many dispatch to change assessment. And we think that best way we can help teacher and also like school achieve their and help students a lot in to be the global citizens. And our institute, like Vietnam National Institute, Institute of Educational Sciences, we call for collaboration from many institutions and also individuals to help students, and we work together to make our global citizenship education to bring global citizenship education to every school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your speech. Now, our penultimate speaker will be joining us online as well. This is Kylie Cooper, the Director of Study Queensland, Trade and Investment Queensland, where she leads a team that supports Queensland's international education and training sector. She comes from a background in tertiary education and government, most recently as the Senior Manager of Entrepreneurship at the University of Queensland, where she played a strong role in the development of the first UQ entrepreneurship strategy. Prior to joining UQ, Kylie was the Director of Innovation Policy and Programmes for the Queensland Government, where she developed and implemented Queensland's government's innovation policy and developed a wide range of statewide innovation programmes. Welcome, Kylie.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you all today. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country on the land from which I join you and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So this has been a great and really interesting conference to talk through how we prepare students to be active global citizens, recognising the increasingly rapid and complex changes happening in our world. This can be a daunting time for our students and for ourselves, but also one full of opportunity. As discussed in previous sessions, our future students are showing strong signs of being values-driven. They're looking to build discipline knowledge and they're looking to contribute positively to the world in which they live. In Australia, we have definitely seen the rise in importance of a wide range of skills, competencies and mindset that build global citizenship. The Foundation for Young Australians has been progressively conducting research that has found that students today will experience a very different work life from previous generations, with a need to transition between jobs and careers. And in the lead up to the pandemic, successive projects found that increasingly, employers were looking for a broad range of what can be called those 21st century skills, including entrepreneurial skills and mindset. This combination of critical thinking, problem solving, and innovation skills, alongside those traits of creativity, resilience, and adaptability. These skills underpin an ability for students to transition successfully as jobs and industries change over time. At the global level, the World Economic Forum has concurred with an identification of top skills for 2025, recognising these skills as well as the emotional intelligence and mindset of resilience and, importantly, of tolerance. Just recently, our National Science Agency, the CSIRO, has released the latest megatrends impacting our work and lives over coming decades. This reflects also the extent of the acceleration of the disruption on how we live, work and play globally, as we look forward to the increasing needs and adaptability requirements of ourselves and our future students, and how we can help support and prepare for this. In Queensland, and as I am Study Queensland, part of Trade and Investment Queensland, a statutory body of the Queensland Government, we have a very strong support for our international students that are attracted to our state. Prior to COVID, approximately 130,000 students from right around the world were attracted to study various study options across Queensland, with about 30% of those students attracted to our regions, who all provide their own competitive strengths in terms of fields of study, geographic advantages, and connection to local business and local community. Queensland has the most diverse international student cohorts in Australia. And this means that we have a fabulous and vibrant cohort of students with knowledge of diverse cultures, languages, strong global competencies, extensive global networks. So when our domestic and our international students study and learn and contribute to community together, they're connected locally and globally around the world, and they learn from each other, and they learn to understand each other. How are we preparing students to continue to increase their global citizenship skills and abilities in what can be a fast and will be increasingly a fast changing world? So in Queensland, it has started at the school level, and I noted the comments on the panel recently. Just recently, our Queensland Department of Education held a statewide conference focusing on leading for global futures. The conference provided a way for all in the schooling sector to share approaches to create authentic, inquisitive, and collaborative opportunities for students to actively participate in their communities, locally, globally, digitally, and personally. Definitely of interest and being embedded through schools right across our state. And a wonderful forum at that conference to share learnings and experiences across different schools and different regions of Queensland. Across our vocational education and training and higher education institutions, there is a strong and increasing focus on employability skills for students. Opportunities to build on and dovetail with discipline and technical knowledge attained through education with broader competencies. This can be achieved through a range of connection to community, to organisations, to business and industry locally, for example, through internships, work integrated learning, volunteering, as well as global exchanges, mobility programs, and an increasing investment in a lot of our higher education institutes in entrepreneurship programs and activities. A number of statewide bodies, such as Study Queensland, also offer support for students. We run a Launch You program, which is open to all students in Queensland, that connects students from across different organisations and institutions into teams to work on a project with a Queensland exporting business on a specific market opportunity. The program has received very strong feedback from both students and participating businesses alike for the value it generates for all concerned. So in conclusion, it is inevitable that we will continue to live in times of rapid change and disruption. If well prepared, it provides significant opportunities for students to contribute strongly as world citizens, both locally and globally. But this support needs to be a collaborative effort between education and training providers, all level of government, communities, and industries. And forums for sharing knowledge and building collaborative partnerships, such as this conference, provide a great mechanism for us to continue to work on this together. I'd like to provide many thanks to Dr. Marisha McAuliffe, the team at Swimbo Vietnam for organising this insightful conference, and to all the other speakers and contributors who've made it such a success. I'm very pleased to have been part of this event. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you very much, Carly. That was a great speech. Thank you. Now, our final remarks today, and for we're finally closing the ceremony, will be from Professor Huy Pham. He was on stage with us earlier on. Professor Huy is the president of Phennica University in Hanoi. He's the vice chairman of Vietnam Material Research Society, member of the board of the National Foundation for Science and Technology, and sits on the board of the State Program of New Materials and Technology in Vietnam. He received his PhD from the University of Amsterdam in 2001. Professor Huy is a reputable scientist, both domestically and internationally, who has experience in teaching, scientific research, application technology development, and in organizing the construction of new units. He has registered 6 patents on utility solutions and implemented many technological transfers into production. Please welcome to the stage, Professor Huy.
Excellency, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the third international conference on exploring boundary of global citizenship, and it is my task to provide some closing remarks. It is a blue text because we shall be closing the door on lively and stimulating debates as well as bidding farewell to friends and associates. However, it is also a privilege and an honor to be enchanted with such an undertaking at a gathering of such eminent people from different parts of the world: Australia, the US, EU, Canada, Singapore, New Zealand, and Vietnam. In the field of government, industry, academic, and the media, namely UNESCO, UN Women, World Bank, Australian Embassy, New Zealand Embassy, Pham Education, QED, British Charm, Europe Charm, and from many universities and research centers around the world. As we had very rich discussion during the past 2 days, I am inspired by the national experiences and innovative practice on the global citizenship education implementation set by so many countries. The issue we had discussed, such as updated definition of global citizen, the importance of global citizenship education, the existing issue on the training activity to tackle and provide the best skills for students, are really important feature for successful achieving the Sustainable Development Goal by the year 2030. Though I understand that the global dimension of citizenship is not necessarily always explicitly articulated with understanding of citizenship in principle of responsible engagement in common education objective. This is the reason of tremendous commitment and effort that I wish to comment today. When the notation of global citizenship was first introduced, it was contested due to its perceived dissociation from local need and reality. Today, this perception is, however, changing thanks to the renewed interest in an emancipatory approach to citizenship education that aims to prepare the learner to become engaged and responsible contributor to the society and broader human community. Indeed, a threat to peace and sustainable development are shaped by dynamic being played out at the local, regional, and global level. All at once, we can no longer ignore the interdependence of local and the global by extension of the critical importance of global citizenship education as a means to help learners of all ages to assume this responsibility. Global citizenship education fosters a critical understanding of the interconnection between the local and the global in view of equipping learners with knowledge, skill, value, and attitude they need to contribute to building a more peaceful, sustainable future. Looking at the world through this lens allows us to see that while we are a diverse human community, we share a common density on this planet. We also share fundamental values that unite us. Many societies have traditional core concepts that resonate with three core notations of global citizenship education, namely solidarity, respect for diversity, and a sense of humanity. For my part, I would like to highlight some key messages from the last 2 days. Knowing there are others, you will convey yourself very well. So the 5 key messages on my side. The first, it is necessary to be a good citizen in order to be a good global citizen. The second, global citizenship will paramount because the world will becoming a single village, and the problem we are facing today will be on national boundary, and we have the core responsibility to be responsible for global citizens, to watch out for each other, and to be sensitive to how our actions affect one another, no matter where we live. The third, there's no single approach to implementing global citizenship education. Although experience suggests that certain factors contribute to its successful delivery, such as long-term and sustainable, covering the local, national, and global dimension, development and sustained in collaboration with local community, with feedback from monitoring and valuable process, etc. Fourth, important integrating global citizenship education in higher education curriculum to enhance student understanding of global citizenship education. And the last, stress that we need respect for human rights, gender equality, inclusiveness, social justice, and acceptance of diversity, and that these were the qualities that must be promoted and practiced to ensure a better world and future for all. As you can see, the topic of the conference is very much in line with the presentation you had today and yesterday, making this exchange particularly timely. We therefore look forward to see you soon again in the next time to continue this conversation. On this last note, I would like to thank the keynote speaker for the very valuable information imparted to us on through the research and presentation. And this will help us better direct our intervention and guidance on global citizenship education. A big word of thanks to Dr. Marisa McAuliffe, Director of Student Support Headquarters at Simban University, Vietnam, and her team for organizing such a wonderful international conference. Xin cảm ơn, xin tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại. Thank you, goodbye, and see you soon.
Thank you very much, Professor Hui. That was fantastic, and thank you very much for being with us. So this brings us to the end of the Global Citizen Education Conference. I just wanted to say thank you so much for, number one, all of our speakers for providing such insightful information and providing such good education for all of our participants. Thank you for all of the people who have been attending in person in the auditoriums. Thank you to everybody who's been attending online. we've already seen the numbers of people attending, and it looks like we've had a lot of people through various different streams. But really appreciate, particularly to the Australian Embassy, for providing all of the contact for the speakers that we've had, and of course our Swinburne Vietnam's connection to Australia is as strong as ever after events like this. So once again, I hope you all will be able to join us in the future. I also just wanted to say thank you to all the staff and volunteers. If it wasn't for all of the volunteers, particularly the Swinburne students, these events can't happen. So to continue doing these types of things, we need everybody's help and everyone coming together. So excellent, and thank you very much. Now, finally, we will have a performance from one of our very talented Swinburne students. So please, would you welcome to the stage Zhang for Mua Tu Cho Em.
Em có nghe
Thank you very much, everybody. Could we just have a big round of applause for everybody who's just taken part in this as well, because we need to... Thank you very much, and well done. See you at the next one.